Hey everyone, Jack here, TalkNorwichCity, back for another video. I hope you guys are all doing very well and recovered somewhat from the disaster that was Saturday against Chelsea. It's been a really fascinating few days to be a Norwich City fan, because I think it's made all of us reevaluate where we are and really look at things after a truly humbling experience against Chelsea. And having watched Manchester United against Liverpool on Sunday evening, I watched that and thought there are so many similarities between that Manchester United performance and the performance we saw from Norwich City. It looked like two sides really confused with what they were trying to be, two sides completely outclassed by their opposition, and two sides with managers who look completely stuck for ideas. And although we're at different ends of the spectrum, of course, Manchester United have a whole wealth of talent. I guess the perspective here is the fact that it can happen to anyone. Norwich City were beaten 7-0 by arguably one of the best teams, well, not arguably, one of the best teams in the Premier League. And Manchester United, who have Ronaldo and Rafael Varane and Pogba and Fernandes, were completely humiliated by Liverpool. So this can happen to anyone, but I could draw some kind of similarities between the two. And I think the big question for Norwich City fans over the past 48 hours or so has been surrounding Daniel Farke and where his future lies. Is it with Norwich City, or can we simply not continue in the fashion that we are? I've been really conflicted. I think I've been jumping between sack him, keep him, sack him, keep him for almost the whole season. I think a lot of people would assume that I'm Farke out, and I think I'm probably swaying more towards that standpoint at the moment. But equally, I can see the positives of Daniel Farke. I can see the brilliance that he's brought to Norwich City over the past 4 seasons. And when you've got a manager that clearly has talent, and I don't think anyone's doubting that, it makes it really difficult. I think in past positions when we've had managers, it's been fairly easy. Even with Chris Hughton, although he kept us in the Premier League, there was never really that oomph from him. But Daniel Farke has proven that he can bounce back from sticky patches, and when he does get it good, boy, it's good. I went to Twitter and asked what you thought of the situation, and I think we've heard all of the arguments surrounding why Farke should be sacked. So I wanted to know, why shouldn't he be sacked? Or if he is to stay, then what are you basing that off? And I got a whole array of responses, so thank you so much for that. But I think the main opinion, out of the 70 or so responses, is the fact that we're pretty much guaranteed to go down now, and Daniel Farke is the best man to then bring us back to the Premier League. And I do get that viewpoint, I do, because that's kind of the situation we had on our hands last time we were in the Premier League. It was like, let's not sack Daniel Farke. He's brought us up once. We arguably have a better squad this time around. Let's give him the time to do it again. But then that raises the question, well, are we not learning from mistakes? What is the expectation here? I think that's where we have to start this discussion. What's the expectation for Norwich City? I think a lot of people would be fine with us going down if we went about things in the right way and at least saw improvement, because I think Norwich City fans in general are an incredibly accepting bunch, or an incredibly patient bunch, and on the whole get the process, get the project, get that we're self-financing, get that we've invested a lot of money into infrastructure, etc. What I don't think Norwich City fans accept, and I don't think should accept, is a regression and is a willingness to simply surrender our Premier League status. It's not easy getting to the Premier League, and I think there's this almost expectation that Norwich City will automatically bounce back to the Premier League. And granted, over the past decade, our ability to bounce between the divisions has been good. But the Championship is not an easy division, and I think this divine right that Norwich City have of, well, if we go down, we're automatically going to come back under Farke is an ill-advised one. And I think it's a risky one, because if we are to go down this season, and it's looking very likely at the moment, it's going to be very different to last time. You've got a player in Timu Pukki who we've relied heavily on for goals. He's not getting any younger. There's no longer an Emi Buendia. Our handling of loan players this season hasn't been ideal. The likes of Billy Gilmour. Will managers trust us going forwards like Thomas Tuchel's trusted us with Billy Gilmour, or like Spurs trusted us with Oliver Skipp? So I think this kind of, well, he's good in the Championship, so that's an okay reason to keep him in the Premier League, doesn't really hold with me. And I don't even think that we are necessarily automatically down. I know that we're already, 5 points from safety, but we've got a very winnable month coming up. And I think that's the other discussion for Norwich City fans, is you've got probably 20% of people going, well, let's wait until Leeds and Southampton and Wolves, and if we get through them set of games and we still haven't picked up a win, or the performances haven't improved, or we haven't picked up an adequate amount of points, then is the time. I think I'm on the opposite. I'm like, well, what a perfect opportunity to bring in a new person, whoever that may be, and give them 4 winnable games to start off. You always get that new manager bounce, and I know that's not a sustainable way of running a football club. Watford can probably do it, but I don't think many other clubs can do it very well. Instead of us waiting for them 4 games and hoping, based off no real evidence, that things will change. Why will the next 4 games be different? We've scored 3 goals in our last 19 Premier League appearances. We've picked up 2 points. We've scored more own goals from open play this season than we have goals. The idea that it's just going to change over the next 4 games is delusional. And that's not me having pops at fans who believe that it will, because I admire the confidence, I admire the loyalty towards Daniel Farke, but we've got nothing to base this off. I guess the other thing is, well, who do you bring in? And that's always the discussion around whether you should sack the manager. And again, I don't think that really stands. I was hearing Gary Neville talking about it on Sunday Night Football last night, about, well, we shouldn't sack Solskjaer because it hasn't worked for Van Gaal and Mourinho before. Well, what kind of reason is that for not trying to at least improve things going forwards? In their perspective, it could be Antonio Conte or Zidane or something. It might not work for them, but at least they're giving it a spin. It just feels very inevitable what's happening at Norwich City this season. And I think we've been here before. We know what the script is. We've left it too late to sack Chris Hughton in the past. We've left it too late to sack Alex Neil and Nigel Worthington. My whole lifetime, it feels like Norwich City are too patient with managers because you don't give them enough time to change things around. And what we've seen from Daniel Farke over the past season and a quarter of Premier League football is an inability to change in-game situations. And I think the big frustration now for Norwich fans is we don't have an identity. The whole Farke ball thing is you give it time and you give it patience because you can see the process. I don't know what we're trying to do anymore. We're trying to play this defensive kind of style of football and shut up shop, but we can't defend. We're conceding goals for fun. We've completely lost our intensity in terms of pressing the ball and winning the ball back and tiring teams out. We've got a complete lack of ability to move the ball through the lines and distribute the ball through the back. Our possession stats are woefully low and we're not getting shots on goal. And the shots that we are getting on goal are from really poor areas. And I think that's the real issue for me, is at least last time we were in the Premier League, there was a kind of style that we played and there was a naivety about Norwich City and there was a lack of spending. There were excuses. This time, none of that stands. We have spent the money. The money we have spent, we're not playing on the pitch, which there is a complete misalignment between recruitment and playing style. We've recruited for a 4-2-3-1 and suddenly we're playing 5 at the back. This short-termism in terms of flipping things when they're not working isn't working. And that leaves me with nothing to stand on in terms of Daniel Farke. I guess the only argument is that one, well, who better is out there? Well, I guess until you try, you're not going to know. Eddie Howe's out there, Chris Wilder's out there, and I'm sure there's a whole host of managers that I've never heard of that Stuart Webber has already been looking at. Do I think Farke will be sacked? No, I don't. I think there is an incredible loyalty from the board and Stuart Webber, and I think they almost come as a two now. Do I think he should be sacked? Yeah, I think he should. I think he should, because we've given him a lot of time in the Premier League to right his wrongs, and I don't think he would have got this time at any other football club. Even, Sheffield United had an incredible season in the Premier League, and it didn't take them too long to turn on Wilder when things started going wrong. And granted, it didn't really work out for them, but I don't know. It's really difficult because I like Daniel Farke and I like what he's about, but I'm just not seeing any trends going in the right direction to suggest otherwise, and that's really disappointing. And the next month does look incredibly important for Norwich City in terms of where we want to finish this season. You've got games in there that you have to be winning. You have to be winning if you want to stay in the Premier League. And I look back at kind of the Lambert eras and even like the Houghton eras. You were going into, we regularly beat teams at home, the Brightons, the Southamptons, them kind of teams in and around us. And we don't even look close this time. Not even close. I mean, Leicester at home and Watford, and I guess we did get a point against Brighton, but there's just such... You don't go into games with any confidence anymore. None of them at all. There we go. It's a really fascinating discussion, this one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Look, I'm not going to judge you whether you want Farke out or want to keep him in, because I think there are genuinely arguments on both sides, and it's a really tough call, and this is why I'm not in Stuart Webber's position, because I'd be an awful decision maker. But I think I am on the edge of Farke out at this point. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.